All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order, Conservation Commission, March 18th. First, I would like to introduce a new member, Emily. Emily, would you like to just introduce yourself a little bit?
My name's Emily Petro. I currently serve as the conservation agent for the town of Uxbridge, and I look forward to serving you all in Shrewsbury. So, thank you.
All right, great, nice to have you. Next item, review and approve minutes. We do not have any. Signs and bills.
I have one bill tonight. It's for the community advocates month.
Discuss and vote on changes to the Shrewsbury Wetlands bylaw.
So there is one change proposed to the Shrewsbury Wetlands bylaw. This will go before town meeting at the May meeting. The proposal is to change section 7, notice of hearings. And this section, currently it says that only certified mail with return receipt requested can be accepted for a notification to abutters. The proposal is to change it to certificates of mailing, which are slightly cheaper for applicants, or certified mailing. Small difference in words, large difference in price tag. Both are accepted by the state, and we accept both within the regulations, but not at the bylaw level. So it will just be a very small change to section 7 to allow for an alternate notification.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we amend the wording in section 7 to allow for the certificate of mailing in addition to certified mail.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. On to meetings and hearing.
So we have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, and the town of Shrewsbury Wetlands bylaw and regulations that the town of Shrewsbury DPW Department, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, Mass. Is filed for a notice of intent for the construction of a walking path, observation deck, associated stormwater infrastructure associated with Jordan Pond at 32 Ridgeland Road.
Of course. See what is up with the.
Feelings asleep. Feelings asleep. There you go.
You're welcome to start. I'm just going to see if I can keep it before we sleep.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Paige McGallagher. I am a junior civil engineer for the town of Shrewsbury. We are here today presenting the Jordan Pond accessible shared use path. So the need for this path, there's an existing paved path already at Jordan Pond, so we wanted to continue the paved path to ensure that it's ADA accessible all the way around the path. And then we are also extending it up to Jordan Road to access from Jordan Road. There's the Jordan Road extension. And then there will also be an overlook extending the pond. That will be supported by helical piles. And then there's also an existing wetland on the property.
show that on my shared screen.
Oh, if you put, I'm sorry, if you put it back to me, then you can see what you see. Huh?
Oh, is it you on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm scrolling. You want this one?
Very soon for some reason. Oh, here's, there you go.
So that's while she's figuring out so the planning board got a grant to do the trail around it, but they didn't have quite enough money. They had enough money to do the schematic design, so we have, the plans you have there are the schematic plans for the master plan that the landscape architect came up with. The initial budget for it was, I think, just shy of $1 million. So right now, there's not money in there to build it. Well, what engineering did, because they didn't have enough money to finish up the designs, they said we would at least get it through permitting. The anticipation is when we go back into the final design, we may have to come back and amend the order, but this was a good opportunity for the engineering departments and the pave and Doug to do some design work that they don't typically get to do for that engineering job. So this is what we would call the first phase of work. This is the loop. Basically on the eastern side, it's already kind of a natural trail. You walk out there and then you see where people have made their own trails, but we're basically it's following that existing path, and we're going to pave it just to make it easily accessible. It's paved out like it. So most of the work is in the 15 and the 30-foot buffer because that's where the existing trail is. So we are seeking a couple of waivers for that, but and I know on the master plan you'll see there's a second lookout on the north side that was eliminated. We've had a couple of community outreach meetings. One of the feedbacks we got is they didn't want that look on the northern end, so we got rid of that one. It's just the one on the southern end. But essentially, really, it's just creating a paved walkway around that eastern part of Jordan Pond and creating that loop and then say the connection up. And then hopefully, when we get enough money, we'll come back to do the rest of it. So.
Sorry, what's going to be done in the first round?
Excuse me, wait.
Oh,
wait.
sorry.
We'll ask the questions, then you come through us and we'll let you ask, okay?
Okay.
Are you-
That's all done yet? Well, we'll go to the PDF we got open. So the plans we submitted are somewhat technical in nature, that's why I figured it'd be easier to show the master plan. But, you know, we basically got some minor tree brush trimming around the trim, around the edge of the wetland, around the pond. Same, just paving it. We are looking to do some drench.
On the screen, what you're looking at, so that we can see what you're looking at.
They're trying to look,
Sorry, I'm
trying to-
computer's being very slow, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is.
They are working on that.
That'd be nice, thank you.
Here's the, oh, it's still not showing. I'm sorry, we use.
Do you have open?
I can share my screen.
Yeah, we should grab some issues. I'll just.
Yeah, if you just click share screen, it's open on the next bit on there.
Blocking screen, right?
I just have to scroll.
So this is the site preparation plan.
They can hear from my computer. I'm not sure how well they can hear from out front, actually.
So this is the site preparation plan. So basically this is the north end of Jordan Pond. This is existing paved, it's a stone dust travel way. You go around the corner, there's a wetland here, and then this is what we would call on the plan would be the eastern side of Jordan Pond. So these hatched areas kind of show some trimming of bushes. One of the issues with getting on the sidewalk is making it ADA compliant, so we have to make it flat. So we're having to chase the grades up the hill a little bit. So we are going to have to do some trimming on these sides here. And then really not much work on the Jordan Road. And then the layout, basically, we're going to leave, this would just be a 4-foot paved walk, 5-foot paved walkway around here. Because one of the comments we got was, no, they didn't want anybody driving up and down this road, so we ended up not paving that road with the 8-foot wide walkway. So we're just going to go with a 5-foot walkway here, and then once we get around the corner, we will then widen it up to the 8-foot walkway, that will basically move all the way around the whole pond. And then so we've got an observation deck here, which is about halfway down the eastern side. Continues around the eastern side, and then basically loops to the existing trail that's on the south side. So that's essentially the layout of the sidewalk, and saying putting in some drainage improvements around it, some rain gardens, but a fairly benign project, and then there's close proximity to the wetland.
Okay. Diane?
Can you talk about the native plantings that are referred to in the plans?
So we don't have the expertise in the house to do that, so when we go out to have the contract documents finalized, we'll probably have a landscape architect help us pick those. So that's why I say, I think we see this coming back to the commission for amendment, but we wanted to just, at least to get it through the NOI process, to say most of these are good learning curve for the engineering team. So we haven't finalized all the plantings, but we will be native of some time.
So in the section where it's going to be 8 feet wide, does that mean that you're still in the 15-foot buffer zone?
Yeah, in some places, well, yes, in some places we are, yeah. Oh, so it's on the bottom one, is it?
Double click it,
Is this the paper one?
hopefully. Yes.
We realized after the minute that didn't have button. Yeah, so there you go. So this is, it's pretty easy to see on the old plan. This is a 15-foot, this is a 30-foot. So certainly on the western, on the eastern side, we are in some location, but just skirting the edge of it. I mean, down here, we're going to be in 15-foot. Most of it's outside 15, within 30 foot.
Wow.
So most of it would be outside.
For the moment, yeah, there's a couple of points where it just naturally comes into the 15 foot. If you walk, you can see it's already cleared and disturbed. And it's basically just compacted gravel that people have made their own travel paths.
Okay. Thank you.
Emily?
Are there any direct resource area impacts associated with this? I know there's work along the bank of the pond.
So the wetland's a little strange, and as you'd imagine, there's a wetland in the bank associated with the Jordan Pond. Then as you go to Kingston, there's also a wetland here. So this wetland loops around. So this section here, we're doing a wetland crossing, but it's basically going to be a raised boardwalk on the helical pile. So we will go over the wetland. It's pretty degraded. That's the point right now where a lot of the runoff from the neighborhood wash it down, so it's full of silt. It's not any natural material in there, so we're going to go in there, clean that up. That's one of the areas where we'll probably do some wetland replication just to improve it. So, but we're not going to go over the top.
And then, do you know the total impervious area associated with the new walkway?
Don't off the top of my head. It's probably not a jolly calculation. We could get that back and find out for you. We don't have the DEP number, so we can find that to you. So it's in the hydraulic calculation. Off the top of my head.
Are you all set?
I think I'm all set.
Couple questions. I know you've got some cutbacks. How many trees are you gonna take out? Actually, trees cut down, and what's your replication plan for that?
We haven't done we went out there and marked the walkway, and there's not many trees actually in the path of it. We will ideally go around them if we can, so the idea is not to take any trees down.
But all right.
Yeah, I mean, just mostly just trim and brush back, because what we're gonna do is pave the path that's already there.
And coming around the upway, like the road on, you've got Lakewood there.
Yeah.
Is there any plans that's helping out with the mud and the muck that just keeps sliding down here, especially around that spillway you have to go around?
Right around here?
Yes, it's that, all that mud.
Yeah.
You do, I said you don't want to do it with the road, but you need to put something to smooth that road out a little bit, just because it's all ruts, and that mud keeps getting pushed away,
So,
and it's gonna end up, it ends up in the pond, especially around that spillway down there.
so that's a good question, and that's one of the common questions that came up during the community outreach and some of the residents here. They didn't want us to touch that road. They want it the way it is so people don't drive on it. It is a private way. It's not technically owned by the town. So we can't really do improvements on it anyway, but that's originally why we thought we would take the 8-foot round and pave it, fix it, but the feedback we got from the residents was, no, we don't want that because we don't want people using it as a cut. So right now, the plan is to leave it as it is.
Okay, so you don't have any more control, because when you start, I'm afraid you start digging in, doing some excavation on the sides,
Mhm.
it's gonna cause more opportunity for that mud from that road,
Yeah.
getting to the pond.
So what we've done with the sidewalk, we've put the sidewalk basically as close to the lake as we can, it's almost in the grass strip, and we're gonna pitch it backwards. So we'll hopefully keep the water in where it is right now. There's no real plans to fix that road at this point.
Okay, the only question I just talking about putting a boat ramp in there, is that something you're actually gonna have to launch, like boats over there by the pumping station, or is that?
That's already existing, and that was done as part of the DCR, got a ground and put in fish piers. They put that boat ramp in, so that was done under a previous NOI.
And boat ramp is pretty generous. It's just like a
That's the what?
graveled slope.
Yeah, it's ideal for people who
Typically
kayak,
for,
it's not-
for small, yeah, like canoes and kayaks.
Sorry, I thought it was gonna be like a boat ramp.
Oh, no.
That pond might fine for that.
No pontoons on Jordan Pond.
Okay, thank you.
Are you, as part of this filing, do you have a sediment and erosion control?
Yeah, we've got erosion control all the way around it, really. It's basically split back. The black line you see all around it, are small levels.
And as they progress and do the construction and do your tree trimming
Yeah.
or your shrub trimming, are they going to hydro-seed that and stabilize that as they go? Or
Yeah, the idea was that we would go with some kind of upland mix because it's pretty wooded, so we would put some kind of upland mix in there and let nature do its thing. But we don't really want to maintain it, we want it to just grow back naturally.
So when you're gonna trim the brush down, you're just gonna trim it and then,
Well, we're going to trim back, and not back, because we wanted to get into trouble because we're right on the bank, so we couldn't really trim the bush.
and then you're gonna leave the rest of the shrub there and it will grow back.
Yeah, the idea is we would take anything out that's going to take, eye of that right, really, people get in the way, people walking through, but not take whole brushes out, not leave anything where it is. So the only issues you can see on the grading plan, like we've got some fairly serious grading here, just to tie back in. That's the only real big impact you got on the soil, the rest is pretty simple grading.
So with that, in that area, so they'll stabilize that with some type of mix, are there any any plantings going?
No, we were just planning on an upland mix, an upland seed mix.
Answer the question on the trees, related to soil management, Danny asked. So the helical pilings you put in, what are you doing with the soil that's coming out of that? Do you anticipate using it on the site somewhere?
Typically, there's no actual soil comes out, it's almost, it's
Just drying
it's
it
like
down.
a corkscrew, that's the
Okay.
beauty of them, there's really, they screw right into the ground, there's no material that comes out.
Okay.
No idea for this kind of thing.
Okay, and then what's the distance, like where it crosses the water, what's the distance from the bottom of the decking material?
I think it's about 2 or 3 feet, I might get back to you on that.
Okay,
Um,
it's not like 6 inches though.
oh, no, we're not, we're gonna, we want to be over the top so that,
Okay,
we can get some ground underneath it. We also want the water to be able to get underneath, because this area is a major drainage course, so that neighborhood water will come through there, so we don't want to get any blockages in there, so we're gonna be up high.
So, all the land that this is going on is owned by the town?
As far as we can tell, yes, we got due diligence, yeah. Well, I would say, Motor Pilot did due diligence,
All right.
all the land records and stuff, yeah.
Well, Paul did it, then it's gotta be.
Yes.
right?
I'm ready for that, we'll do a lot of searches.
Okay, Aaliyah?
There are a couple sections of invasive species, especially Japanese knotweed along probably areas that you will be disturbing most right along the east side. Are there any proposals to remove some of that vegetation and obviously replace it with that upland shrub mix?
I think we would put some local idea,
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We can get rid of the water, right?
yeah, I would recommend some special conditions related to invasive species removal where it's present. That might be part of the secondary design phase as well, is to kind of establish where there are invasive species located and some plans to how to get rid of those.
Is that it?
That is all my questions.
Any questions?
I do, yes.
State your name and address, so.
Joe Hanna, 21 Lakewood Drive, Shrewsbury. Now, as far as the Lakewood Drive in front of our houses, we're the abutters. And what we would like, we mentioned last time, was the street to be closed to general traffic and just accessible through emergency vehicles and town vehicles. And that way, the path can stay at 8 feet wide. And that'd be a nice spin instead of like crowding it, because there's not enough room for the road and the path. It's not going to work. So, I mean, I mentioned this last time.
Yeah, and that's what I say, so that's why we skinny it up to a 5-foot walkway.
It's still not enough. So what did you do with the rest
So
of
wait a minute, one at a time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
One at,
sorry.
because
We don't-
what happens is, if we don't know who's talking, we do the minutes.
Yeah, I understand.
Go. Finish it, go ahead.
So, yeah, we'd just like it closed instead of, like try, make it nice, do it right. So, have the path.
That's something that engineering can review.
So, I mean, like, what would be the process?
It's
So,
up.
yeah, we did get a formal request today, I think it came from you, right? So, we've got some formal requests from somebody. We're gonna have to talk to the town council because we don't own or maintain the road, so I don't know if we can close it. So we've got to check the town council and see what the options are.
Okay. And what is the timeline for this?
For this project?
Yes.
Oh, it's not even funded yet, so it's so weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what are the chances of it being funded? Is this
Um,
probable or?
I think the desire is to get it done, but like with all projects, right, it's based on funding.
Sure.
So we got a grant to do the original design, didn't even have quite enough money to get to this position, which is why we kind of offered it. So planning department right now is looking for other grants to finish the construction design documents hopefully this year,
Yep.
with the idea that we can get funding for it to be into construction next year. Would be an ideal scenario, yes. It's all about the money, right?
Right. And just throwing this out there, what would you think of closing the road now? That's not gonna cost anything. And making it a nice walkway, because the traffic that does go down there, you can't walk if there's someone driving.
Well, that's up to.
Yeah, I don't think that's certainly not something commission, and I think at this point, I'm not even sure the town can get, I will find out and ask for you, I just don't know.
That's-
Okay, is that because it's a private road?
It's all private roads.
So I can just close it?
So in theory, right, without getting too much into the legalities of the private way, everybody has the right to pass and repass over it.
Yeah.
So it's not just you, it's the people upstream and downstream that have the right to use it, so it's
Okay.
about getting everybody on board saying, yes, we all agree, because the town also owns portion of it, right? So it's
So-
about getting them on board to say, yes, we can do it, if we can do it.
Okay,
I just don't know, I don't like the gas to be, that's why I get checked. It's a children new on me, so. I mean, there's certainly, you know, certainly fire and police stuff, and I have an issue with it, I don't foresee that being an issue, but I don't, that's a yes or no.
okay, and when do we ask?
I got emails today, I'm gonna reach out to town council, so maybe we'll have some direction in the next week or so.
Okay, would you,
Whatever, if you feel one sent email, then I'll respond to that.
okay,
Yeah,
great.
it just came today, so I think it's take a week. It's a new one to me, so I'll figure it out.
That's that.
Yes, thank you.
Sir?
Hi, Fran Manella, 52 Hancock Street, essentially a butter. What do you plan right now? You said you narrowed the path to 5 feet down Lakewood.
Correct,
What else are you doing to Lakewood
that's it.
well, you're gonna do something to the pond side, or you're just gonna leave it like it is?
Yeah, right now, I mean, it's how you're probably going to see it here, the walkway's kind of this thin, skinny line, runs down light, and whatever we need to grade either side, or we'll do, but not
So you're not gonna do anything
No.
else to that road?
No.
If that road stays like that, that path won't last for 3 months. Nobody uses this road, they have a right, right? That's what you said.
It's private, yeah, it's right, that's what it's.
Nobody passes except FedEx. Who's the next one? Give me one.
Prime.
Prime,
That's it.
Amazon, what's the brown guy?
DHL.
Yeah,
Yes.
all of them. I sit there because I'm on Hancock and I can watch them. And they're tearing your path to smithereens because they don't care.
Well, I don't think they'll be driving on the path, is that correct? They won't be
You can't keep
driving.
them off it. How you gonna keep them off?
Well, I mean, logistically, we can't stop them.
Just being civil?
Well, maybe that's something to consider too, Andy, when you're.
Yeah, I mean, some point, we've got to take a deeper dive into this.
Yes, maybe that's something that, you know, you have to put some bollards up or something.
And if we do
sometime.
close it, then yeah, maybe we do.
All they want to do is get from Lakewood intersection there to Route 9. That's all that's for.
Or maybe that's something they'll look at. I mean,
Thank you.
it's kind of
We'd be
beyond,
real grateful.
beyond us, we're concerned with the wetlands and how close it is, but that's a valid point, I'm sure engineering will take a look
Maybe
at
the
that.
Conservation Commission will see their way clearly support the citizens petition or something like that.
Well, they're gonna look at it, and they'll, this is a year away at least, so let's go and see what they come back with.
Yeah.
Appreciate you listening.
You have any questions, sir? No? Anybody else have any questions?
One before, the one thing you have to make sure that you have to keep that road open to a certain degree, you may have this FedEx express storm. You still have to get fire apparatus and police crews and ambulances down there for some reason. You have to make sure that's wide enough. You don't pay to track those vehicles.
They'll destroy it for sure, because they're too big. But what we want to do is we want to close it between the two butters. So that fire trucks can get halfway down on both sides to service those properties. But nobody could pass through. We put a couple signs up, road closed, no through traffic, and it stops. And your road, your path stays sweet, and we all get along.
That's what they can look at. I want to make sure that.
Thank you, we'd be grateful, I'm sure.
All right, anything else? All right, so this
We
will
would like to continue,
this will be continued to our next meeting. Thank you.
So, do we get to sign off a final project? Is that,
You know, I would say you can come to every meeting and voice your opinion,
okay?
and I'm sure you can you can email contact with engineering
Yep.
and see where it goes.
So if this doesn't go the way we want it, I mean, like, I'm not sure of the process, so I just want to know how it goes.
We've continued it, so we're going to talk about it again.
Yes,
Next
It's
month,
not closed.
at our April meeting,
Then
yeah.
April meeting.
So it should continue to another.
Yes,
Yes,
oh yes,
yeah.
come in,
Okay.
Yeah.
This is, it's not over yet.
No,
We don't have a
I
DEP
just-
number.
And this is only related to the impacts on the wetlands. The Conservation Commission only has jurisdiction over how any project will affect the wetlands.
Yes, which is very
Outside of that,
important.
yes, yeah, there will be, I'm sure, other permitting processes after this one,
Yeah.
or there's other stages of design, and then there's lots more between here and implementation.
Yes.
Yeah, so there will be a lot of opportunity, I think, for comment, but it'll,
Only
Yeah.
because, I mean, this is my house, and I don't want to, I've worked hard for it.
Of course you have.
So
So
I don't want to see it
just
devalued.
keep, send your email to engineering,
Yes.
and he said he's going to respond, we'll talk to town council, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Can we get a set, these 12, can we get a set of 12 set sheet from you, email me or something?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, there's a new public hearing.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, of the Town of Shrewsbury, bylaws and regulations, that the Lake Quinsigamon Commission, Shrewsbury, Mass. Has filed a notice of intent for the implementation of a drawdown plan to manage invasive and nuisance species on Newton Pond.
Good evening. I'm Peter Collins, the chairman of the Lake Quinsigamon Commission. Essentially, we're here and we have a consultant from TRC, Margaret O'Brien's also here with us virtually. And the gist of it is that we want to continue our invasive plant management on Newton Pond. We've been doing it with herbicide probably now 3 or 4 years, I guess. That permit's still in effect. And we want to add, which we meant to do in the beginning, was to add a drawdown with this management plan. So essentially, Newton Pond's a good candidate for a drawdown just because of the geography of it and where a lot of the plant life is right now. So I'm gonna let Margaret kind of take over and talk about the technical side of it.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Everyone in town.
Okay. I'm having a little trouble hearing some of the commission members. It's a little fuzzy, but so I apologize if I may ask you to repeat a question or two. Yeah, my name is Margaret O'Brien. I'm with TRC representing the applicant for Lake Quinsigamon Commission. Applying for a winter level drawdown for Newton Pond. The pond suffers from invasive species like fanwort, variable leaf milfoil, and reef milfoil. The past couple of years, herbicide applications have been used to help manage these species, but we're trying to permit winter level drawdown as just an additional management technique to use. Drawdown involves lowering the water level in the pond and exposing the shallow bottom sediments and allowing some of the shoreline plants to dry or freeze over the winter. It's best achieved during cold, dry winters. So every year, winter conditions may be unpredictable. Therefore, it's a management technique that will be used on as-needed basis when winter conditions are suitable for it. Drawdown programs in Massachusetts are encouraged not to exceed 3 feet, and in this case, we're only proposing a drawdown of 1.5 feet, which would expose only 11 acres approximately of the sediment along the shoreline of the pond, and it'll still leave more than 48 acres underwater, which will definitely be a sufficient amount of deep volume of water for any overwintering fish under the ice cover. And the plan is to begin drawdown November 1st, reaching the intended 1.5 drawdown level by December 1st, November 1st to December 1st, and then the pond will refill by April 1st. We're also proposing conducting monitoring during this as well, doing pre and post drawdown surveys to map the plants, and understand the effectiveness of the treatment, and then also collecting some water quality samples to make sure that it's not adversely affecting the water quality, which it shouldn't be. And there are quite a few benefits of drawdown in this case. One would be protecting the shoreline structures from any ice damage. And as I explained before, controlling the rooted plants that grow on the shoreline, drawdowns better for the invasives that we have, rather than the native plants that spread by seed bank. So this will help target some of the invasives that are currently at the pond. Drawdown can also coarsen the sediment as the water recedes and brings some of the finer particles down offshore from the shoreline. And so if used consistently over time, this can reduce habitat suitability for the invasive plants. And then also because it's creating a more coarser grained shoreline, may help with habitat diversity in the ponds and the native plants that prefer that, and may improve nesting sites for fish species as well. And then ultimately, as I mentioned before, herbicide applications are currently a management technique that's being used to help, and we're hoping that the drawdown will aid in reducing the amount of herbicide that will need to be applied annually by controlling the plants along the shoreline. So that's kind of the brief overview. I also have a few updates that I figured I would let you guys know, just because we had our Boylston Conservation Commission hearing last night that my coworker Carl Nielsen attended. So he presented in Boylston. We still haven't received a DEP number for Shrewsbury or Boylston, so that will need to be extended too. So that hasn't been closed out yet. But overall, it was a pretty positive hearing. And the Boylston Conservation Commission, they had retained a third-party reviewer for another pond that was being presented that night. And my understanding is that they asked this third-party reviewer to also take a look at our NLI too. So there may be some comments that we're going to be responding for that as well. And yeah, I think those are the updates that I had. And I know you said that there's some additional amendments that will be needed to the form, so I'm happy to discuss what needs to be changed with that as well.
Yes.
Peter, do you have anything to add?
No, well, one thing I will add that also at Boylston last night, which was nice, they voted to fund the peer review within the town, saying that they felt that Shrewsbury, was doing their part with Newton Pond, and they felt that they should fund that. Last time we went through the permit process for the chemical treatment, we had to fund the peer review, so that was much appreciated.
Diane?
Okay, so, please forgive me. This drawdown would happen, not just 1 year, but repeatedly, is that right?
Yes, this is hoping to be permanent as one of the longer term management techniques. Similar to how there's ongoing herbicide applications, and I think there's some other techniques that have been permitted for the pond, although I'm not sure if they're currently being used, like hand harvesting and stuff. But yeah, this would be for a multi-year effort. As kind of like an additional tool in the box, if you will, of attacking these invasive plants.
And how successful is it at doing that?
It's pretty successful. Again, this is for targeting just the shoreline plants, so it's not gonna like eradicate the invasives completely. And like I mentioned, the herbicide applications are being applied as well. So hopefully it'll just, as we continue to monitor, hopefully we'll see a decrease in the plants along the shoreline, and then have a lead to less herbicide that needs to be applied in those areas.
Just to, for example, we've been doing a drawdown on Lakewood Sigmund for, many years now. And, Lakewood Sigmund at some points is, 65, 80 feet deep, so no effect at that point. But along the shallower end of Flint Pond in the southern part of the lake, it's been pretty effective around the shoreline border. So if you go there in the summertime and look for weeds, look for invasive species like fanwort, which is predominant over there, and Eurasian milfoil, it's basically concentrated in the middle now. So it's easier for us to deal with that with herbicide treatment. And it's less herbicide in the water, which is really what we're after with this.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So, just the last question. The herbicide, what kind of lingering effects does this have on life forms other than these plants?
I don't, Peter, if you're there, I don't know if you would be able to provide more information with the herbicide, because that's not something that we've been tracking, but herbicide has been used in a lot of ponds and lakes in Massachusetts, and generally is pretty targeted towards the invasive species that's applied for there, and typically there's no other impact to surrounding wildlife or native plants.
And to add into that, when there is an issue, we have, in Lake Sigmund, for example, we have a endangered species in the pond. And, we have, because when we initially changed the permits, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I forget now when it was, at one point we only had a permit for the herbicide dicot. So when we, and that was basically used primarily to kill off the Eurasian milfoil, which we were successful at doing. Unfortunately, when we got rid of that, fanwort grew in its place, and dicot doesn't do anything to fanwort. So we didn't have any way to, without permit to do it. Around the permits that we did, I think back in, I'm going to say 2016 or so, we essentially changed it. We put in mostly chemicals that we knew that there were invasives of that part of the pond. That said, we're restricted from treating anywhere near the endangered plant, which is in a few prominent places in Lake Sigmund right now. And so we stay with chemicals. So we're exploring what they call it, a diver-assisted suction harvest with DASH, which is basically they go down there and suck with a big vacuum. The challenge is with a lot of these invasives is that, you can't, this is what we used to do when I grew up in a lake. We'd get out there with our lake rake and we clean all the stuff out in front of our property. We might as well have taken a seed spreader and just gone out there and done like this, because a fragment of the plant can take and cause a home to grow. So we don't do that anymore and don't recommend anyone doing it, so we have to be very, very careful. So that's why you have to kind of, when you knock the plant back with picking, you gotta vacuum it up at the same time. Very expensive, very time consuming. I think they can do an acre a day maybe, depending on the water quality and all that, but that's what we would do there. So we basically change things up, and we think it's gonna damage anything else. As far as the plants on land, we really are, after the water column kind of takes care of it, and also Lake Sigmund, the water that's in there right now will not be the same water that's in there in 6 months. It basically completely turns over like every 6 months or so. So it doesn't really stay long. Some of the chemical treatments we use for the fanwort, for example, they don't last in the water body, the water column very long. So you actually have to hit it a couple of times to get it done. So they really never get out a chance to get stuff on land, or kill some of the vegetation we're not trying to harvest. We're not really. We want to be very careful to protect the lake. We're trying to make the lake healthier and vibrant and natural. So right now we're kind of correcting stuff that man did, because we have 3 major highways spanning the pond right now, tremendous amount of runoff, which is basically causing a lot of troubles in the nutrient side of things, and phosphorus. And so we're really, we're starting to test streams coming in and sources of where the whatever it is, and we have over 100 outfalls on Lake Michigan alone, and there's a bunch of them on Newton. So, we're trying to keep ahead of that and figure out what's going on. So that kind of the overall plan, and this is just a part of it, because Newton Pond is part of the water, a direct part of the watershed for Prince Edward, and it literally flows into the pond. So anything that's up there is eventually going to end up in Prince Edward.
Thank you very much.
Emily?
I guess I just had a comment and then a clarifying question. The comment being that if we were to issue an order of conditions that is only good for 3 years, so unless it's extended, so that's the duration of the permit, that would allow for that activity. And my clarifying question is, so the intention is to leave the plants where they are? Is that how that works? So you draw down and then anything exposed will just stay there and hopefully dry out?
Yeah, well, we're trying to freeze them,
Okay.
okay, and kill it that way. Yeah, the plant mass itself would fall to the bottom, and biology would take over.
Right. Okay.
So on the chemical side, we try to hit it when it's low, so there's not that much mass on the bottom when it's rotting.
Bob?
But I just want to comment, I've seen how it works on Lake Michigan, it's actually pretty well worked on the drawdown, so I have no questions on it.
Just a comment, I am the representative to the Lake Michigan Commission, from our commission, and the Lake Commission has been working for many years trying to get Lake Michigan and Pond, better state. I know the town of Shrewsbury's donated a lot of money, so is Worcester, and so is Grafton. This is just another tool that we can use to help better our waterways. And, I would hope this comes to fruition. Chris?
I have no questions.
Alea?
Don't think I have any questions at this time.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Okay, so I guess this is gonna have to be continued because you
We have a number.
DEP number.
We also have a paperwork issue that's straight.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, I'm sorry, I do have a comment.
This is town owns the property, so technically the town should sign it. Just a formality.
Yeah.
So yeah, the application will be remedied to include the town as the owner and then signed by the town manager.
I have a question. I think we did on Lake Winsigam, was it a 5-year plan of Lake?
So yes, we do, for the Lakewood Sigmund invasive treatment plan, we had a special condition that included that the permit would be good for 5 years.
Could we do the same with this?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if possible, I'd like to request for a 5-year order of conditions if possible to match up with our other management.
All right,
Perfect. We will see you next month.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So then we hear.
New public comment.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, in the town of Shrewsbury wetlands bylaw and regulations that Gregory Sandoval of 515 Grafton Street, Shrewsbury, Mass. Has filed a notice of intent construction of a single-family home with a septic system and associated site work at 515 Grafton Street, Shrewsbury.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm James Tatro from Expedited Engineering, here representing Greg Sandoval, the applicant for you. The property in question is listed as 515 Grafton Street. So the intention is that Mr. Sandoval and his wife purchase a triangle of land from the abutter at 118 Memorial Drive to give them frontage on Memorial Drive. And the intention is to construct a single-family house on the east side of Big Bummit Brook. The Sandovals live in a house up on the hill on the west side of the brook.
The lot would be, which is now 2.95 acres, I believe, would be divided, leaving about 3/4 of an acre with the existing home. The rest of the acreage, plus the triangle of land from the abutter, would be a new house lot. The proposed location on this lot, I should explain that there's multiple colors that you're looking at if you're looking at a plan in your hands or what I've got here. We've got red, green, and blue, and I'll just explain what they are. The green is the wetland area that was flagged by Scott Heim in December. The red is the bank limits that he flagged, and then the 100 and 200 foot out riverfront area limits. And the blue is the FEMA 100-year flood zone, and which with calculated elevations of 433 here and 434 here. The applicant is proposing to construct this house partly within the outer riparian zone. There would be no alteration of the inner riparian zone, and the total alteration would be less than 10% of the riverfront area on site. The nearest approach of any of the work would be 46 feet away from the wetland to be consistent with the town's wetland bylaw. At the limit of the proposed backyard, we would install a line of boulders to discourage future encroachment. The new house would have a winding driveway coming down from Route 140. It needs to do that winding to have any kind of a reasonable grade to it. As the grades up here are about 468, and the house back here is 448. So it's dropping all that distance. If you drove on Route 140, you're going south, you would just pass Gold Street. You will see on your right a couple of houses set relatively close to the road, but down. The third of those that you would pass is that neighbor's house at 118. Those houses are about 60 feet off the road. This is proposed to be 100 and, get it right? 112, yes. So it's actually roughly the same elevation difference between road and house as, for instance, the neighbor, but again, set almost twice as far back. What else should I be noting? We included in our filing a alternative analysis. We looked at the 5 lots that were listed for sale by MLS in Shrewsbury at the same time. We were astounded by the price of house lots now in Shrewsbury. I'll note this an aside. But of those 5 lots, one was actually really kind of a mistaken listing, was one with an existing house. Of the other 4, 2 of them probably would have wetland buffer zone impacts with them anyway. And in regard to the other 2, again, the comparison that applicants are requested to make is to determine whether another property would be a substantially economically equivalent possibility with less wetland impacts. Well, the applicant and his wife have owned this property for some years now, and as compared to purchasing a lot for be it $329,000 or $350,000 or $360,000, those really just aren't economically equivalent. So I guess I would just, to be brief, because I should note, we also do not have a file number assigned to DP. So I will be asking to continue this hearing to your next meeting. But I would just note, again, proposing a house on the east side of Big Bummit Brook. Obviously, that's a perennial stream. There's riverfront area, the bank limits back here. I should note, actually, too, on this side of the brook, the wetland actually extends quite a way away from the bank. If you put a scale to the plan over here by bank flag number 4, wetland flag number 3 is about 85 feet away. So actually have quite a bit of extent of wetlands, because this is relatively flat. Just outside is probably a recipient of runoff from a few different properties. So we're proposing to construct a single-family home within the outer riparian zone. We're proposing to alter just under 10% of the riverfront area on this property. We sent in the alternatives analysis, which we believe shows that they're not a substantially economically equivalent alternative, which would alter which have less wetland impacts. And again, we're proposing a couple different measures besides the line of boulders at the limit of work to discourage further encroachment. We discussed with the wetland scientist and actually landscape architect as well. You note that the plans call for there to be at least a 4-foot high grass fringe at the limit of the yard to do some more filtering. We also call for them to use at least a 6-inch depth of loam to have a little bit effect towards minimizing leaching away of nutrients, which then requires people to, or eggs people on to do fertilizing. We're calling for it to be low nitrogen, low phosphorus fertilizer and to mulch clippings on the yards. But I'll just try and answer any questions. Like Dennis, I know we already know we have to go to your next meeting because we don't have a file.
Thank you. Diane?
Yeah, do you know when this lot was created?
Sorry?
Do you know when this lot was created?
It was, you asked me about the 1996 thing. We looked into that. Because this lot does not exist. What we're proposing is to take, if I could step just away, the existing lot ends at, you see the stone wall line? The existing lot ends at that line. So the proposal is to leave the existing house, which has frontage over on Grafton Street, to leave 3/4 of an acre with that, to take the remainder of the lot, and a deal was made with the abutter at 118 Memorial Drive to add this triangle of land, and then take the remainder of the lot and that triangle, giving it frontage, and construct the house on that new lot. So, no, we wouldn't be able to say that it existed before 1996.
Okay, so the vast majority of it did, but not that triangle.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I'll just say something that's a concern of mine.
Okay.
This is a septic system?
Yes, we already did the official soil testing here,
Yep.
and I basically worked out the design to know that these elevations would work with the house.
All right, so just a comment, but a strong one. All septic systems cause nitrogen and phosphorus to travel through the groundwater down to the wetlands below. And, well, that's what the science says.
I
Yeah.
not disagree.
So although the plants are supposed to absorb, take up a lot of the phosphorus or whatever, what the science is showing is that actually that slows it down a bit. But over time, the phosphorus reaches well, in this case, Big Bummet. And at that point, it enters Big Bummet at a steady rate each year because it has finally reached down there. The nitrogen itself will reach Big Bummet at the same speed as the groundwater is flowing. So in this case, that's such an important river that I want to say that it really matters that we do everything we can to not put nitrogen, especially phosphorus, in there. And so that's something that I think we need to focus on.
I would just note that this proposed septic system would be 150 feet from the wetlands and another approximately 80 feet, so about 230 total from the bank of the brook. So it's not.
It's a great, wonderful distance, but the fact is that the phosphorus will make it down anyway. Because that's what the science is saying at this point. That we thought, well, 100 feet or 200 feet or 300 feet would be enough, but the fact is that the phosphorus will get there. Okay? So this is something that I just wanted to make clear, and that I hope that we can do our best with this. Okay?
If there's a suggestion that the commission would have, if you're looking for, what immediately comes to mind is in instances where you're expecting you might not meet breakout, or you have to do something additional to meet breakout. Sometimes clay barriers or impermeable barriers are installed on the downhill side. That's maybe something we could look at here. Toward
Clay
wetlands.
slows it down.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop it, but it does slow it down, yes. Okay, thank you.
Emily?
This was the septic system, I'm assuming complies with Title V.
Yes.
Okay, then typically, I think the language is that it's assumed to protect the interests of the act if it's designed in compliance with Title V, so that's my only.
I didn't want to say that to your colleague, but, because as she knows, that assumption isn't always,
Yeah. It's not how I'm not stating how I feel about it, it just is what it is. But, okay,
All set?
yep.
Bob?
All right, I did walk down, I walked this whole area. There's grades down there, very concerned to me in regards to, during the construction, how you can protect the wetlands. I mean, it's, you gotta be a billy goat to work in either side of that. Coming in there, those are the first things, you have to worry about that. Obviously, someone's already did some digging, you dug right in the middle of a wetland, which pretty much looks in the area where your septic system is. It's all wet, it's all moss and all moist in there, it's a wet, I think you might have missed that as being flagged. That area, I walked in it, it's wet, it's all mossy. That needs to be looked at. I think you might have missed something down there and they have to be taken a look at. It's gonna take extensive amount of fill in that to be able to bring that bank in the road and sidewalk in there, even if you could take that piece of land from the neighbor. Like I said, there's a lot of wetlands in there, and like you said, it goes and it comes down into the pond, but it comes all the way back up in a big circle. It's wet in there everywhere. And there's some other spots you need to look at on that property.
and to the commission member and to Leah, would you want to set up a walk with Stein if possible?
Yeah, we could get out, so after Bob got out there, and took a look, I went out to see where the soil pits were. So what was, it does look like a test pit was done, what was that for?
Well, we had 3-minute and 10-minute per inch perk rates.
Okay.
I mean, they were actually pretty good.
Okay, well, so just slightly north of that, probably
Yeah.
where the proposed driveway will be, there did seem to be, there was standing water, so.
Okay.
For some reason, it is holding water. I don't know if it's a ephemeral, spot, but it probably would be worth considering if there are additional resource areas that have not been flagged there.
Okay. I will bring it to Scott's attention and we'll see if we can set up a walk.
Yeah, I'm happy to get out there, yeah, and take a look at where we really.
I would suggest maybe a peer review of this lot. Is that okay?
Yeah, with the number of resource areas on the lot, that will be impacted, it would probably be a good idea to see. Yeah.
Plus, it was delineated in the winter, so it was out of our bylaw.
During our cold weather delineation.
Yeah, so it's only between April and November.
Yeah, he actually went out there twice, but at least the second time was in December. Because he initially, if you're out there at the Sandoval's house and you look out back there, you think that their property probably extends about this way. So he initially went out and he had about the southern half of these lines done, and we had to ask him to come back and
Yes, I saw that they did continue pretty close to the adjacent home, so
yeah.
they are well captured on the southern edge. But yeah, it'll be good to see.
Sure, and we would have no objection to,
Peer review. Okay, I'll reach out to our peer reviewer about an estimate for that.
And then Leah, just on the creation of the lot, it's going to be created now.
correct.
So it's, the Rivers Act is, so how does that work?
So if it's,
Only lots that were in existence before it's a certain date, like August of 1996, are grandfathered, if you will.
yes, so there's the allowance to construct a single-family home that is either less than 10% or 5,000 square feet, whatever is greater, on lots that were created prior to August of 1996. So with that in place, all of the proposed frontage and the creation of the new triangle lot at the front really has no effect on us. It's outside of all the, it is literally the only section that's not part of the resource areas. So with the existing lot. Do you know when the 1515 Grafton was choked?
I don't, I just saw that it was clearly after 1996, and so I sort of dropped the issue of looking into it further at that time.
Okay.
I just want to also.
After, after or before 1996?
It was after 1990, well, at least
Okay.
I have to check that. I should get back to you.
Yeah, 'cause I think
I
the
know
only
the
way that
Sandoval's were in after 1996.
Yeah, and it looked like the house was constructed in the early 2000s, but the creation of the lot versus the construction of the home is what, we care about the creation of the lot, not the construction of the home. So even if the house was constructed in, I think, like 2009 or something,
I
that
think
doesn't.
I think it's kind of an academic issue because we're proposing the new lot to be an effective 2025 lot.
Okay,
That would be the.
yeah, so I'm,
So how large is the lot?
Um,
Creating
The lot would be, I think it's 2.2 acres,
the new lot,
the new, yes.
the new lot, 2.2
Because
acres.
it goes essentially to the backyard
you're
of
going
your
up,
existing.
okay.
And that was in order to capture the riverfront area on the west side.
So your disturbance is based on that total square footage?
Correct.
That's how come
The-
you came up with the...
There's a total of, if the number, 77,906 square feet of riverfront area in two parts, here and here.
And you're up to 7,000 and change of disturbance.
Right, we're at, I believe it's 9.8%. I just wanted to quickly note one other thing, process-wise. I believe we will end up having to file with Mass DOT for this driveway cut for breaking their guardrail line and for entering onto the road there as part of this process, just as an aside.
I won't put it on the town, nothing like state.
Okay.
So no Mass DOT, there you go.
All right, Chris, do you have any questions?
Not complaining.
Not to belabor the septic comment, but there are towns in Massachusetts, specifically the Cape, where there's a lot of compliant Title V tanks that are being removed because of nitrogen. So, granted, totally different soil, right? It's all sand, but that's not belabor the point, so I didn't want to bring that up. No other questions, so.
Andy?
No, just if you're gonna do an A&R, right, you want the A&R in place before you can go with the conditions, that way it's.
Okay.
And so we have the final address for what
Okay.
this will be.
We would then, as part of, I will look into, you'll look into, again, probably setting up a site walk with your peer reviewer and Mr. Hine. We'll look into what we could do for, it probably would lean towards a clay barrier rather than a plastic liner on all the downhill side of that system.
Okay.
There
There are a lot of, going back to the Cape, there are a lot of alternative or innovative wastewater systems that accompany a septic tank. They're used a lot on the Cape to remove that nitrogen. Going, and back to what Emily was saying, Title V, septic systems will often meet Title V because it's a requirement. But the focus of Title V is typically on human health, not on resource health. So a lot of those alternative wastewater systems are being installed. I can't remember if they're installed between the septic system and the leach field. I think it is pretty common. Yeah, so the water is treated.
The treated water goes into the.
Yeah, so the septic system initially treats the fund, and then it goes through the leach field or it goes through the alternative wastewater system to remove some of those nutrients, and then onto the leach field where the water is allowed to hang out with the groundwater. And at that point in time, yeah, I'm not sure what systems, a lot of those systems are still in experimental phases. I'm not sure what's been approved by the
It keeps
state.
changing. One of the things, last time I
Exactly.
got my soil evaluator's license re-upped, they talked about they have a system where all they've done is added sawdust into the sand, and they actually got a really good.
I've seen a lot of, I was working on one that was soybean oil. I've seen them where I don't know how the soybean oil works, but they pump it into the ground and it takes all the nitrogen away. I did a lot with coastal systems too, so we were more focused on nitrogen. And I'm not sure whether or not they've caught up for inland systems and phosphorus in addition to that. So it might be something to look into to see if there's an alternative wastewater system that is made for the treatment of phosphorus, because that's our problem. We care about the nitrogen, but not as much as the phosphorus.
We will look into this quite seriously, try and further address this. And I would, if there's no other, I don't know if anybody wants a question from the audience.
Any other questions from the audience? Any other questions? Okay, this is gonna be continued to our next meeting.
I'll reach out to you in the next couple of weeks about the peer review, or the peer review estimate.
We have a new hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Town of Shrewsbury Wetlands Bylaw and regulations that Canopy Subramanian, 19 Stony Hill Road, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of an addition to the single-family home at 19 Stony Hill Road.
How are we doing, folks? Douglas Dillon from Goddard Consulting. I'm here representing the applicant. So what we have here is an addition proposed on an existing single-family home. It is very far from the resource area. The nearest corner of the proposed actual construction is 81 feet from the actual outermost edge of the wetland. Even the erosion control barriers are nearly 65 feet from the outermost edge of the wetland. We are proposing a addition with a square footage of 963 square feet, and in recognition of that, we are also proposing a cold-tech stormwater system, which is staged to absorb 1,035 square feet worth of stormwater runoff, so it completely compensates for this addition and then some, plus 50%. So it will be less than almost like, it's not there. It'll further capture additional runoff from the total roof as well. And it is going to be a standard sort of like a concrete foundation from the existing house as well. The property, interestingly enough, I didn't notice when I was up there, is the backyard is sort of enclosed by an existing stone wall. Kind of cool. It acts like a sort of like a free erosion control barrier or like a BMP. It entirely retains the back portion of the property itself, and the erosion control barrier will be installed on the interior side of that. So we'll be using the erosion control barriers, and then even behind that, I guess, where we have a historical stone wall to sort of buffer that out. No damage is proposed to the stone wall. Very kind of low impact project overall. Right? It's all over existing lawn. No native veg is going to be thrashed or deforested or anything like that for this. All over lawn. They're just doing it in their current backyard. This is the property closest to the secret garden walk around Farm Hill Pond. If you're familiar with that area, I had quite a surprise when I was out there coming across a 10-foot tall fiberglass bear. I wasn't aware of that, until I just kind of walked up on it. I was like, I actually asked Olivia about it. I was like, hey, you know what, is up with this? And cool little park there. Coming from the pond, there is an intermittent stream, and I submitted the stream stats just affirming the status as intermittent, just in case there's any question about that. I'm not looking to do a stream determination, just additional information showing and agreeing with its USGS listing as intermittent, so there's no 200-foot riverfront off that. Are there any questions that I can hopefully answer for you guys?
Diane?
A simple question about test pits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was kind of an unusual comment that I received from Mass DEP. This is about the second or third one of these. Same project team, same stormwater engineer that I received. I really, professionally, genuinely don't think that's necessary. So this is actually the highest lot, or one of the highest lots in the neighborhood. So if you look at the mass mapper topography, right? You look even 5 houses down, that house 5 houses down is nearly 30 feet lower in grade. And we're proposing to install the stormwater in the uppermost portion of the house to the left, looking at it to the left, right? So it's like the house 5 houses down, their roof line is essentially this house basement. So I mean, I genuinely do not think that there's a big groundwater issue. Further, the soil type for this is a Canton, Canton PBB, fine sandy loam, super high perk rate. The soil survey on that showed groundwater, 5 feet in excess. It's actually so permeable that they say it's not good for septic systems. This is on sewer, by the way. It's not good for septic systems because it perks so quick, it doesn't get a chance to filter out the effluent. So I mean, there would not be any issue with test pits. I think it's a little bit of a kind of a larger ask, in my professional opinion, not entirely necessary. And also during install, we're going to have the contractor obviously verify.
Yeah, I would recommend a special condition related to them submitting photos that, when they go to install the stormwater infrastructure, that they just submit a photo or a report of the hole in the ground
100%.
to show that there's no water in it. And that would be, at that time, there might be reason for us to go, hey, there's clearly a foot of water in your stormwater hole, you should maybe revise. And at that point, we could look to change, obviously, the proposal.
So as they're digging, they stop digging to take a photo and come back to us, or come back to you?
Yeah,
Or
they
they
would,
can-
so they would submit a photo of the, and this is common with a lot of stormwater infrastructure that's proposed. I don't get to look at these photos all day. Typically, our stormwater coordinator, Vincent, will. And yeah, so he'll commonly receive a photo of the bottom of a hole that shows, that it's dry and that there's not groundwater infiltrating up through, and that it is a good location for. Yeah.
Yeah, and to do like a whole test pit process, like technically a lot of the install area is actually out of the 100-foot buffer zone anyway. It's just kind of like a serious, like I've done a lot of good like work and convincing a lot of developers of like the utility agreement infrastructure just to add getting out there. It's like a pretty formal process, like bringing a machine out there, having a test pit done, mounting analysis for the most ideal spot on the lot on one of the most ideal houses in the entire subdivision. There's about 60 houses in that subdivision, I would estimate. I haven't counted that, I would estimate. It just is a kind of greatly, in my professional opinion, and well within the professional opinion of the other folks involved in the project, not appropriate for a homeowner project.
Thank you very much.
Emily?
The stormwater management system, you said it was a cold tap?
Cool thing, yeah, it's just like an underground buried tube.
And then what are the maintenance requirements associated with that? Or is it like difficult to upkeep?
It's totally buried.
Okay.
You can kind of like disassemble it and like dig it up, but it's not going to be collecting like something or anything like that. Totally just closed system to the roof, and you can disassemble the pipe and kind of like like auger out any material, but it's not an offensive or crazy thing that requires like upkeep. There's a lot of inspection boards, stuff like that, just the typical thing.
I would also recommend a special condition that the O&M plan be included in the certificate of compliance so that it's on record with the registry of deeds.
Yeah, cool.
I think we're good.
Rob?
I went down and checked this property out also.
Yep.
I did it, lucky enough I ran into the gentleman who's been doing the work down there. He did mention they're gonna remove a lot of trees. There's like probably 10 or 12 trees he's gonna cut down the side, the bushes, the behind the
Okay.
big tree in the back. That means they're the idea of putting some plantings back and just for the amount of trees they're gonna take down.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously any natives whatsoever, any tree will be replaced in kind with a native, and we'll happily submit some sort of, or I'll have them submit a documentation showing as such. I think one of the prior projects, 12 Bittersweet, there was some native plantings, and we happily included that in the order conditions, just area appropriate species that That's an upland area there, so it would be upland species that would be planted. So just, native, non-invasive, but, there are a variety of species appropriate for that, and we can absolutely include that in an order condition. We'll make sure that's followed.
Yeah, because one of the trees is taken down is right against the stone wall.
Yeah.
So they're probably, when they excavate that stump out, it actually probably might disturb that. So they have to make sure they go beyond that point. Make sure you have some of your protection beyond that point.
Okay.
You're gonna be digging.
Okay.
And probably wrap it around the whole building, because, obviously you have the sewer treatment area. So when you put your stuff in, you should go around, because he wasn't sure if he's going on the left side or right side of the house with the excavator. Looking at the house, the right side, there's a big wall there, it kind of drops off, and you have to dig all that ledge out of there. So the other side, he's just put something to protect the whole area.
Yeah, we'll absolutely make sure that gets done, and done properly.
Chris?
I also had a question about the trees being removed, but, so you don't know how many are being removed, right?
Not at the moment, I think, I'm just trying to think, shrub or tree. You said 5 or 6?
5 or 6, yeah, 'cause you said it's next to the house, down the side, and that big tree in the back.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have those,
And you can't leave the stumps, I assume, because you'll need to drive over them with a backhoe or an excavator or something.
probably not, I mean, or we could, frankly, just in order to minimum, well, I guess what would you prefer? Would you consider that more impactful or less impactful? I know there's a lot of work. It's not on a slope.
Yeah.
So it's all backyard, really, from the stone wall in, just pure backyard. And whatever, frankly, would ease the.
Where are those trees located on the plan?
Yes.
Do you have an idea of where those trees are located on the plan?
How far?
The trees would be, well, I can show you right here.
They're
Trees-
next to the house.
The tree, there's one here, then there's these trees right here, one right there, and then there's a big one right here.
Okay.
Okay, that one.
That one is right at the wall, and there's several of them right here. He says he's gonna take all those trees out, and there's one in order to get, they have to bring the machine down, take out here, or they gotta take these bushes out to get by one or the other.
Right. Yeah, I'm less concerned about the ones next to the house, more than concerned about the one near the wall. Maybe you can leave the stump on that one.
Sure.
And he said the Cultec was gonna go back here, right where these trees are coming out, right in that area.
Yeah, the Coltec's kind of like next to the house to the left, like slightly recessed. Yeah, so if that's the one that you guys would want left, we'll absolutely go with that.
So maybe it'd be a condition, listen to have, say, replace 6 trees and pines, make sure they're native.
Yeah.
So that would be a condition.
Yeah, I'll send them the Shrewsbury plant list that you guys have as well. And make sure they choose something up for that and have that selection sent over.
Can I make a request that you include the location of the Coltec system on the plan set?
It is. It's on a separate plan. It was done by a separate designer. He doesn't do full-size plans. They're 11 by 17. They are,
It's in the package,
yes,
We have
yes.
as long as we have it. We're done.
Yeah, sure.
We have, you have the plan, right?
Shouldn't be that hard to plot the points on the,
On the paper packet, it should be page, on the PDF, it's saying page 43 of 57.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you found it? Yep.
You have it. On the package, it.
Yeah, so I'll have a digital copy, I just don't have a.
Yeah, he doesn't submit them as like 36 by 24.
There's a digital copy in the,
okay,
on the plan stamp I mentioned.
all right, as long as we have that on file.
Any other questions?
No,
Leah?
I don't, so there would be a waiver request, and we'd have to approve a waiver request for delineation done during December as well for this project.
Oh, yes, yeah, the ground was totally thawed. I, was able to get full soils through depth. The line kind of followed like a lot of like upland tree species, like red oaks, white pines, separating that, and I used a lot of like sweet pepper bush,
So how far is the wetland from the house?
From the proposed construction, it's going to be 81 feet from the nearest corner. So from the house, it actually doesn't even touch the current house.
Did you request a waiver?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Any questions from the audience? So, does somebody want to make a motion on the waiver request?
I make a motion that we accept the waiver request for the delineation of wetlands during the winter months.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we'll close the hearing.
Great, thank you.
Somebody else have a
I
question on
think
this?
he'll be for the 33 to 60, they'll both be for the 33 to 69 Green Street, so I think they're just.
Okay.
Jump.
Any other questions on this? So if not, we can close this hearing?
Yes.
We'll close it.
All right, thank you guys for your time. And I'll get all the rest of that information to you and anything else. Thank you.
Penny, we also had, no, you're good, Doug. In other towns, can you mute him? Jim, could you mute yourself for just a moment? I'm sorry.
Are we all set?
No, just, yeah, this is for 19 Stony Hill still.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, my
Yeah.
apologies.
Yeah, just a moment. And so, Andy, maybe you could speak to this for the closing of hearings right after the hearing.
You close the public hearing and then issue your conditions.
Immediately instead of all at once at the end. I don't know if the commission would be amenable to,
Does it matter?
It's, I mean, the ceiling commission, I know it's done, it does it that way, it's not.
I can see a benefit that we.
Because I mean, like,
Fresh in our mind.
if an
Yeah.
applicant wants to know the word conditions, I put like a white in the meeting.
you also, yeah, you still have the applicant here, so if there's any confusion about, or the representative of the applicant here.
I don't know, I kind of like doing it for the last 25 years, so maybe we'll just continue for it. There's no special rule against it.
I haven't checked the open meeting law to see how it,
It's not, it's just, I say, it's just.
I mean,
Of course, the meeting's still open. It's not like we're doing it.
we close it and we
Close
just,
public hearing.
yeah, so the
You gotta
hearing is
close it anyway.
closed. There's just an opportunity for typically the representative still available to, so if there's any confusion over special conditions that have been discussed, they're not finding out when they receive the order of conditions, that,
Like the last.
yeah, that there's
they
something
wait till
fun
the-
is happening.
like we have.
That is true. That is true.
Moving on. So we have a continued public hearing regarding the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Aztec Factory, Pulte Homes, New England, 1900 West Park Drive, Suite 180, Westboro, Mass. Delineation of bank and border vegetated wetland at 3369 Bridge.
Okay, Jim, you're up now.
Okay, yes, we filed a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation back in, I believe in January. And the commission requested that we hold off on, reviewing the delineation of third-party reviewer, because of the weather. But it also suggested that we file a waiver request, to have the wetlands reviewed outside of the delineation review window, which is April 15th to November 1st. So we did file the waiver request. However, we continued that public hearing because we ended up getting like 2 feet of snow. And now that the snow's gone, we are back on the agenda and requesting the waiver.
Dave, did our peer review, did we do our peer review yet?
Sorry, what was your question?
I can wait till you come back.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was gonna reiterate it to them too, because I'm not sure.
Did, we do our peer review?
So we have, the peer review request has been sent out. Our Alan of Ecotech submitted his estimate for services. We've received a check from the applicants in the amount of the estimate. So peer review is all there. They are ready, set, go when we say go.
When do you think that'll be done?
When will the peer review be conducted? Probably, so typically, I find that Art schedules about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks out, depending on his, his schedule. It is a busier season. All the vernal pooling, all the wetlands are. I think other towns are also looking to probably institute peer reviews at this point because it is springy-ish. So yeah, we would probably see his peer review done
April, May?
in April-ish at this point.
So before our next meeting or then?
Probably, yeah, I can ask when,
I find that
yeah, I'm not sure when Art would be
Art's
available.
pretty expeditious as far as, he's pretty good. Once he gets out there, he does his report. So I would think by our next meeting, we should.
Yeah,
have
we would probably,
that.
if we give them the go-ahead, they probably will be available. The report would be available by next meeting. I think the biggest thing would be coordinating Jim, who is in Maine, with getting onto the site.
So what is
Art.
then that we have to vote on a waiver then?
Yeah, so you would have to vote to issue a waiver for
So what is the pleasure of
March.
the board about
For
issuing a waiver?
I think that as long as we're, having a third party look at it, I think a waiver can be granted. Any
But we
other,
have to vote on it before we know what the review says, what the peer review
Well,
says.
so then if we grant the waiver,
Yeah,
that way they do the peer review, we can review the line
Okay.
prior to the next, it's April 15th. If he does it prior to that, technically he has a waiver, and then they come back to us with the report.
Okay.
So would somebody like to make a motion
continue or?
about the
I
waiver?
meant to make a motion that we accept the waiver request for the
3369
3369 Green Street,
and
for the NRAD at 3369 Green Street.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we granted the waiver, and you guys can schedule with peer review consultant and your consultants and do the review of the.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Leo, reach out tomorrow and just go over those details. Thank you very much.
of course.
Thank you.
All right, we have a continued public hearing rather notice of intent filed by East Hall Knot 101, looking to the ad for the reconstruction of all the associated site improvements at 101 North Ave.
Good evening. If I could just take a quick second to welcome Emily to the commission.
Thank you.
Emily and I have worked together from Town Oxbridge for a number of years. I think you guys will love her. She'll be a great asset for the commission, so welcome.
Thank you.
So we were before the commission at the last meeting, and
Your name is?
oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Thank you. Mike Andre, Graves Engineering. Also with me is the owner of Michelle Bath. At the last meeting, we didn't have a DEP file number for our comments, so we've since received those comments. We also heard some commission comments and we revised the plan accordingly. So just to sum up what we've added to the plan, we've added some additional sediment controls, including ones along the entire southern property line and intermittent as you go up the site at the different terrace levels. We've added notes about removal of the temporary soil ramps. Once the work is completed, we've added notes about grading away from the southern property line. That was an issue that was part of the reason why one of the walls failed. And we've made a change to the infill wall, retaining wall, to remove the border, and that was done to mimic the wall that was there before and technically provide wildlife habitat within the cracks of the wall. So basically going to build that back the same way it was with just loose stone. DEP had some comments. We did retain Ecotech to address the wetland performance standards. They issued a letter, which I included in my revised package about that. We had to revise the NOI to reflect bank impacts. Previously, it was just a buffer zone only project, which was not correct. So we've revised the identified and include bank impacts and the associated fees for that. So I think we've addressed all the comments that we've heard to date, both from this commission and DEP. The neighbor, Ms. Ann Zedek is here as well. So I'm sure she'll have questions, and I'm happy to answer any at this point.
Diane,
No question.
Emily,
No questions.
Bob?
The only question I have is, now that the water's coming up relatively quickly in the lake, are you still planning on doing the work before the spring, the fall?
So that's an excellent question. I haven't seen it myself recently. I just talked to Ann before the meeting, because she's obviously next door, and I think the water's still a ways. Really, according to her, it hasn't come up all that much that she's noticed, so if we can get the approval tonight and get through the appeal period, then I think there's still potentially time we can get that done. It's not a lot of work that we have to do below the water line, or the water line will be rather. So that's the hope, but we'll see what it looks like when we're able to do that work.
Did you reinstall a silt fence on the bottom now that it's all, has that been done again? Correct, problem?
Regardless of if we do the shoreline wall or not, that silt fence will be maintained.
You corrected it, because it was all falling down, is it
I
fixed?
don't know, it's been, again, I haven't seen it recently,
Okay.
but until the owner tells me it's been done.
That's all, thank you.
Fix other things on the shoreline.
Perfect, thank you.
Hence, boundary also and silt fence.
Perfect, thank
And
you.
just to that same comment, I think we committed at the last meeting, if we're not able to do the shoreline wall, we will proceed with that southerly property line wall and get that work done.
If water comes, rather than the sidewalk first.
When you're installing the wall at the shoreline, will somebody be there inspecting that, watching that install that for the plan?
Since we have to sign off on this at the end, my office will likely do inspections on that for aesthetic
That's
compliance.
important.
Yes.
That's real important. I mean, a lot of these walls have been failing. This is not the only one that happens. And if it's installed properly, it should last a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a number of these ourselves, and we've seen a combination of poor construction combined with the wave action in the boats is a big factor.
Harsh environment there, it's a lot of wave act. Chris,
No additional questions.
William?
I would recommend some special conditions relating to reporting reporting requirements for either weekly or bi-weekly erosion control check-ins. And then also having someone on site to, confirm that the wall is being built to last.
Okay. Is that it?
Otherwise, yes, they have addressed all of the DP comments. A revised fee was submitted relating to fees for category 5. And then we also have received the revised letters associated with the bank impacts. And we typically do not see a Chapter 91. One of the comments by DEP was related to a Chapter 91 license. We do not typically see a Chapter 91 license applied for the instance of the construction of a retaining wall.
Right.
So I guess that would be to the commission if they would like to require a special condition relating to inquiring with the state if you need a Chapter 91.
I can answer that right now. We don't need one for retaining wall.
Okay.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Bennett?
I think that's all the questions, all the comments I had.
Ann, do you have anything to add?
I am Zedek Sumner, 99 North Quinsigamond Ave. Thank you very much for your communications. I had 3 quick things. So the staging, the timeline, that was one of the requests that the commission had last time. Could you just lay that out again? So when you say as soon as possible, that would be both walls, all 3 walls at the same time.
One, two.
I'm Shana from Anwar. So it cannot be at the same time, all the 3 walls. The priority will be the big wall because of the water issues. If it happens, then the thing will be the sidewalk. The third wall that is between the our two properties, that will be done while we are doing the shore wall. That will come up along with it. Then we come back to the sidewalk. If that's the order of construction based on the water lines.
But within same time frame.
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay.
So once we start the construction, we complete all the 3 walls. No, yeah, of course. So it's not that we do it next year, no.
Because we don't need to wait to repair the southern wall based on any kind of lake action.
Right.
I'm not sure that.
So what you're saying is if the water level comes up and you can't do the wall along the
Yes,
lake,
then
you'll do the other wall
Exactly.
that Ann is referring to and
Exactly.
clean that up. That's what we discussed last month, is that correct?
I thought that was what.
Yeah.
That's, you understand that?
Exactly, and if the water is still down, we will start with the lake
Well,
wall first.
correct, makes sense. So there is an appeal time that we have to wait, so you probably won't, if this does get approved tonight, there's an appeals period they have to wait, then they can start in 20 days.
So there's a 10-day appeal period, and then there's a 21-day period for the commission to issue the order of conditions. So at most, it would be a month until construction could start. If all of the days for all of the periods are occupied. Hopefully, the order of conditions will be out the door quicker than the whole 21 days. So then it would be between 15 and 15 days and a month.
Can I ask a question? Can I, before that happens, can I still procure the materials during that time, or have to wait for the materials to go to after everything is said and done?
So are the materials dirt, or would it be for the actual
Just
blocks and
stuff
stuff?
for the block.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I think you could create stockpile
Yeah,
areas.
you can get the materials, and just keep them in the front.
Yeah, especially if the preference is that stockpile areas are not within the buffer, or not within the
No,
buffer
it's in
zones.
the front.
Yeah, so if it's in the front yard, it's truly out of our,
easier for me to start it once you done that.
yeah, it's truly out of the commission's jurisdiction at that point, so you can have piles of stuff in the front yard, whatever floats your boat.
So, thank you for clarifying the time frame so that I can be expecting it's reasonable.
Yeah,
The lake will be up
within 15 to 30 days, yeah.
by that time. But as I understand, now looking at the new consultant, that they're not going to be digging anything out for their base, in their base waterfront area. Those in the first layer, am I correct? Is staying as is.
So she's referring to the infill wall. We did revise that detail. We were going to dig out some and get that bottom course into the ground. Looking at it again and the condition of your wall, we think it's better to just put some big, large stones at the bottom of that wall, kind of press them into the ground a little bit and just leave it be without doing any excavation. So that's on the plan now. That's what the proposed detail is.
So then, excuse me, so am I correct then, they could do that even after the water rises? Because
Yeah, probably, yeah, because, well, it's probably proposed above the water line as the water is creeping up.
I would say that'd be a field call, if you think that's feasible, then
Yeah.
you can do it. In a manner that's consistent to your plans, I would say yes.
I mean, it would be nice to get, if we can't complete the wall in its entirety, the mean annual high water line is about halfway up that wall. So if we can get to that point with those rocks, that would be ideal, but
I think that's.
see what it looks like in 2 weeks.
but the part that's not done is the gap, the 3-foot filler wall. That one has to be dealt with separately, because there's not anything currently.
That'll be constructed at the same time to the block wall next to it. So they'll be working simultaneously on all of that.
But what I'm saying is if you can't do it for a month already, then there is already a gap there that doesn't have anything on it except dirt.
Right.
So, lake bed, let me say it. Lake bed.
If they can do it in a manner that's consistent with what's on those plans, and it's going to be stable, I don't see why they couldn't. I mean, it would stabilize that sooner than later is better.
Yes.
So if they can
I
do
just
it,
want to
if they can do it, I think they would like to do it, if it's consistent with what's presented here. And that's going to be a judgment call by the engineer.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we can't do that work until we're approved and we're through the appeals and all that. We can't do anything before that period.
So until then, when the water comes up, can there be something done to protect that 3-foot area from the lake water that's gonna be coming up and coming back against the backside of my retaining wall, my waterfront wall, and the soil that's going to be eroding down into the lake. That is not stabilized. It's been winter, it's been cold, the lake water's not coming up into that gap currently, but it will very soon. And to that wall, now, they're recommending that there not be any water because there could be fish that were sometimes, it was a habitat, potential habitat. How is the soil gonna be kept from going through those holes, those gaps, into the water once it's built?
Yeah, so there's still understood. So there's still a drainage layer behind those larger stones of usually filter fabric with smaller stone to prevent any fines from washing through the wall, any soil from migrating from behind the wall through the wall. So the same as we're doing with the block wall, that same drainage layer that's behind the block wall will exist behind that stone wall.
Okay, I didn't see that on the plan.
Yeah, it's on there.
Oh, okay, then, so you're gonna put fabric back there, soil on top, and it will.
Stone, fabric, stone, and then the soil behind that.
That will need to tie into my property in some fashion, because there are plantings there.
Okay,
Yes, except we've got to come up with something, when the water rises, that I'm not sure I understand what's gonna happen there.
I'm sure if they can do it in a timely manner, it will be consistent with what's approved on these plans. I mean, it behooves them to do that, so we don't have any more runoff and erosion. I think probably could be done.
And if we can't, it'll be properly stabilized. If he doesn't want to lose his backyard either, neither do you, or more of the wall, the fence that still is there. So that'll be properly stabilized as an interim measure until we can get back in there, should that case present itself.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Being none, we'll close the hearing.
Thank you.
All right, here the continued public hearing regarding the notice of consent filed by Nico Gacchione, 115 Northeast Cutoff Realty Trust, West Coils Street, Worcester, for the construction of 2 commercial buildings with parking driveways, as well as 2 stormwater GMTs at 369 Holden Street. Anybody here? That's continued. Hello, hi, how are you?
I saw it, I was confused, and I didn't like, yeah, sorry, that one's like, Gary.
You're up.
Can we just deny
Thank
it
you.
at some point? I
Would you
don't
like to
think
sit
it's
at the elect-
yeah,
appropriate,
appropriate
and we can-
to
everybody-
entertain.
No, it's not, yeah, I've talked to DEP about that.
How you doing? Are you ready? Mr.
You're
Chair?
ready.
Hi there, so I'm Patrick Healy, I'm a civil engineer with Thompson Liston Associates. We're representing 115 Northeast Cutoff Realty Trust. With me is Mel Ciacciarone, one of the principals. So we had submitted for the record the signed agreement between the town of Shrewsbury and the Worcester Department of Public Works to provide public drinking water and fire protection to the site, which I believe was the last outstanding item that we all were waiting patiently to receive. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I can. Otherwise, I would ask the commission for your indulgence to vote on the issue.
Absolutely. Diane, do you have any questions?
No, I do not have.
Emily? No questions? For
10 for me. Yep.
Elena?
I have a lot of special, suggested special conditions, but
Okay.
that's not. My questions. I'm sorry, I apologize, I do have questions.
Go right ahead.
I lied.
All means.
So I had 2 questions for you. The first was related to the conservation restriction associated with the property. I had received a letter of support from Colin with the Worcester Land Trust several months ago at this point. And they were discussing, or at that point in time, 2 conservation restrictions were being discussed. And I just wanted to see how that was coming along.
So we are working with Greater Worcester Land Trust currently. There's a pending application with the state, I forget which agency of the state that oversees this.
Yeah.
For across northeast cutoff on the west side.
Okay.
There's pending approval of that. Once that's approved, that goes to the Worcester City Council for enactment.
Okay.
We have not filed the one on this side of northeast cutoff yet.
Okay.
We've had discussions with Greater Worcester Land Trust, but we've not gone to the point of making application yet.
Okay.
Something we're planning to do. Both parties are amenable to it, just a matter of, first of all, figuring out what our limit of work is, agreeing on that, and then establishing the limit and drawing up the meets and bounds of what that CR would look like.
Okay. So yeah, I would recommend a special condition that we receive the conservation restriction when it's issued, just so we know where that is and that it came to fruition.
Mr. Chair, if I could tell you, it's taken a number of years to go through this process on the
Oh yeah, it is a time
property, so
process.
it's not something that's gonna happen, within 6 months or even 2 years, I think, the way things are going. It's only one attorney in the state that reviews these statewide. It's just sort of a bottleneck.
Okay. Well, if it's a condition and we get it when we get it, I think that's acceptable over there.
Yeah, I would think so. And then my other question was related to, so it indicated on the notice of intent that no resource area impacts would be felt. Is that still the case with the crossing proposed and?
So there are no direct impacts to wetland resources in the town of Shrewsbury.
Okay.
There is a crossing of intermediate stream proposed in Worcester that has now been approved. We have the other conditions
Yes.
from the Worcester Conservation Commission. And if you don't have a copy, I'd be happy to provide.
Yeah, Eric was able to send me one, and a lot of the special conditions related to, or that I've recommended to the commission tonight reflect the conditions, so that the orders of conditions will align with each other very well. So yeah. That was all the questions that I had.
Okay. Any other questions in the audience? Okay, there being none, I guess we can close the hearing.
Thank you.
All right. That one took a few years. All right, new and old business. Discuss and sign orders and conditions.
All right. Let's see what we got here. So we closed Stony Hill, 19 Stony Hill.
101,
Yeah,
369.
right. So in Stony Hill. I wrote down 4 different conditions. We can discuss them and then make a motion. So photos of a report of when installing the stormwater system to verify the condition of, basically, hopefully it's a dry hole. Copy of the O&M plan should be included with the certificate of compliance. And any trees will be replaced with native trees and leave the stump for the tree that's being removed at the retaining wall. Any other conditions?
That's all things that's what we discussed. Okay. Do you have any more, Leah?
Nope, that reflects everything that I have.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we, lost my place, that we approve the notice of intent filed for 19 Stony Hill Road with the special condition that we did receive the photo of the report when installing the stormwater system to verify the condition, that we receive the O&M plan including the certificate of compliance. Any trees we remove will be replaced with natives, and that that they leave the stump for the tree that's being removed at the wall.
Any discussion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
101.
101, let's see, so 2 conditions on that is all I have. The biweekly erosion control, erosion check-ins, and someone on site to evaluate if the wall is being constructed correctly. Anything else?
Anything else, Leah?
I would recommend a special condition, yeah, I would recommend a discussion over the frequency of the erosion control inspections, and then when.
Biweekly is what I wrote.
Yeah, either weekly or bi-weekly has been, I guess, seen depending on different projects that we've reviewed.
Weekly?
Yeah, we could see
Seems fair.
weekly, yeah.
Okay.
So those will be submitted weekly, and then after, typically we'll also see in that special condition that they're done after any significant rainstorms as well, to see if erosion controls failed across the property. I would also recommend a special condition that a PLS survey the wall after its construction, to verify it in the field. And then also, Andy, this would be a you question, I guess. What letter, or what would the engineer submit to confirm that the wall was built well?
So when they submit a certificate of compliance request, it says it's a standard engineering plan.
Okay.
The engineer's supposed to submit it. It's a standard
Okay.
well, it's something-
So, yeah, I guess I would recommend an additional special condition that a PE submit an as-built with a request for certificate of compliance verifying that the wall has been built according to plan.
To be clear, the PLS was in addition to somebody on site verifying the wall being constructed correctly?
So the PLS will just come at the end to
Okay.
mark where the wall has been constructed so that it's not, if they decided to scooch the wall 10 feet into the lake, we would have record of that.
Is that not, that information isn't collected when they do the as-built? You know, when they go out and survey
Yes, it
and
probably,
locate?
well, so yeah, I guess
Where the wall is.
we would request a plan be submitted that is stamped by both a PLS and a PE, because the PE isn't necessarily certifying where the wall is, just that it's built. Exactly, so yeah, the PE can certify that the wall was built well, the PLS can certify that the wall was built where it was supposed to be built,
Okay.
and also not impacting any excess amounts of resource area.
So, yeah.
I want plans from
Mr.
everybody.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the notice of intent for 101 Sigmund Avenue to, with the special condition that we have weekly erosion check-ins. 2, that someone be on site to evaluate the wall being constructed is being built correctly. 3, that we have a PLS certify the wall during the construction or post-construction, after construction, post-construction, sorry. And that we have a PE submit the as-built with the certificate of compliance.
Are you gonna have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And then the last one was northeast cutoff, 150 northeast cutoff. What, oh, correct. I just have the 2 that I wrote down. I don't know if you can else anything, the Worcester Conservation Commission restriction that we receive a copy. Did you get that? Or?
That we received a copy of what? Oh, the conservation restriction?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so that would be a unique condition to the town of Shrewsbury.
Okay.
There were a lot of other, I'll kind of walk through really quickly the special conditions that were issued by Worcester. Let's see if I can find them.
We do have a copy of the orders of conditions. So.
Yeah, so we have received a copy of the order of conditions from Worcester, so we have that on file. One of the additional conditions is that Worcester will also receive a copy of our of our order of conditions, just so we are confirmed that everybody has received an order of conditions. So one of the conditions prior to construction would be that a pre-construction meeting occur. This will probably occur with planning as well, or so that will serve as the pre-construction meeting. If are you required to go through planning as well? Do you know? Have you already done that? Okay.
With the planning board, you have
Yes,
the public hearing
okay.
session.
Wonderful. So after that, they probably, with the scale of the project, will require that a pre-construction meeting will occur. That meeting, as long as I am in attendance, will satisfy this requirement, or will satisfy this condition. Additional ones will be related to having the contact person for the project so that we are always able to contact you. Notification prior to the start of activity. That construction monitoring reports will be submitted probably in the form of what is required by the SWIP with the scale of the project. Sorry, such tiny little words. That the wetland be flagged where the wetland flagging that is in existence on site be maintained throughout the construction period so that contractors are aware of where the wetland is, and that the clear limit of work is defined. There are requirements for the creation of the construction entrance as well as the installation of the erosion control barriers. And then there are conditions related to runoff and stockpiling and erosion control, a lot of related to don't put stuff in the wetland. That.
Should our conditions mirror theirs? Is that what we're saying? Or?
She's reading off our conditions.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, so they will.
They'll be the same, basically, as what.
Right.
Back to Worcester Concom, in their city, they will, I will recommend all the special conditions, and then you might say, as recommended by staff, so that you don't have to read off
Okay.
every single of the
Thank you.
multitude of conditions that I have
Okay.
read to you tonight. Because we have standard conditions that are typically issued, and then a lot of the conditions reflect what is issued with the order of conditions by Worcester.
Does the town of Shrewsbury have a set of standard conditions that we issue?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot. So those are standard for basically not depositing any materials in the wetlands, which is pretty standard. And then these ones are kind of additional ones related to commercial properties that are constructing next to wetlands and kind of build off of don't deposit things in the wetland. Yeah. And then there will be a couple of perpetual conditions related to filing a certificate of compliance and installing native species within the buffer areas. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
All right, somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we issue the order of conditions for, which one is this? 369, 377 Holden Street, with the recommendations from our staff.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Discuss and sign certificates of compliance.
Let me give you your actual pieces of paper to sign. I have one certificate of compliance to recommend be issued this evening. It is for 106 Reservoir Street. This was the construction, so this will be, or I would recommend that a partial certificate of compliance be issued. We issued an order of conditions for the construction of a single-family home in addition to the existing single-family home on the lot. So they have, obviously, all the work that was proposed on the existing single-family home lot has been completed. They have stabilized the hillside where most of the impacts were related to the construction of a secondary driveway, and rerouting the existing driveway because a common drive is not allowed, for planning. So they have re-stabilized the area, have installed the rain garden, and then have stabilized the site for that aspect. The remainder of the site will remain open because there is still not a single-family home there. They do need to do some work related to stabilizing the rest of the site because they are getting some sediment into the roadway.
Is there a reason why we're issuing a partial?
They would like to sell the house that is already constructed.
So is it?
I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why
see.
they didn't divide the lot before they came for the order of conditions. It seems silly now because they're in a rush to sell a house.
Right,
But it's an
right.
existing historic home, and was minimally disturbed.
Okay.
It was just like a big old lot. and now it's a slightly smaller lot. How many did I give them?
You can read it.
How many do I need to give them? No, you don't need that.
3, you need a.
And a partial certificate of compliance. I think I need a motion for that, though.
Make a motion that we accept, we issue a partial certificate of compliance for 106 Reservoir Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, our last thing is updates. This is for 5.2 Point Road, or 5-2 Point Road. We issued an RDA just a couple of months ago related to the after-the-fact filing for the construction of a sunroom and porch. As mitigation for that, we have required 10 plants be submitted, or 10 plants be planted, 3 trees and 7 shrubs. The applicant I'm not sure what the applicant was asking for. They have installed several arborvitaes as well as a few shrubs on the property, and they were wondering if, what extent of mitigation, I guess, would be further required. Let me see if I can pull up a map of the area.
Well, I think when we discussed this when we issued that RDA, that this was mitigation for work that was done prior. Right, so, I mean, I think they should just follow through on putting the plants in that.
How many did they plant? Do we know?
So they have submitted, they have planted probably more than 10 individual plants on the property, but they are not necessarily native species. They planted a row of arborvitaes at the rear as a privacy barrier, yeah. And then they've also planted several like flowering trees in the front yard. Fortunately not like an invasive species like a Callery pear, but they're not specifically habitat beneficial species. They're just like a magnolia, and like pretty landscaping plants. I did not see an issue with the number of shrubs that were proposed. Because 7 shrubs is not hard to plant, it's not hard to find spots for 7 native shrubs. They didn't have a question about planting the 3 trees, just because I think let me see if I can pull up the lot, so.
Did they have specific planting requirements?
We did not designate any specific locations for the plants.
Did you say what type?
We did not, yes. We just required that 3 trees and 7 shrubs be planted based off of the planting guidelines that the Shrewsbury has put together. I'll send you a copy of that, because it's an extensive
From our
list
list, yeah.
of native species.
And did they plant any of those that are referenced on our list?
So they haven't planted anything. They have planted several things just prior, like the installation of these arborvitaes at the rear of the yard were recent. I think it was, let me see, let's go back in time. So it was just kidding, not in the last year.
So they haven't planted anything that we asked them to do.
Right.
No, so they have.
So, I think.
Yeah, they just planted, it looks like they planted some things in the front yard, but a lot of those are probably not native cutesy shrubs.
I mean, this is just me. I think they should, since it was mitigation for something they did without a permit, I think they should just follow through and plant the native plants we asked.
Yeah,
that are on that list. We're not asking for much.
No.
I mean, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Cool, okay.
Because there have been those plants that they've been in for a long time. They've done really nothing we asked them to do.
Yeah, and those are non-native species.
No.
Yeah, so,
Or certainly not habitat beneficial if they are
Right.
too close to native. Okay, cool, I will let them.
yeah.
That's your piece.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
And was there anything else to become for us, Elena?
I have
You did have something?
I think there's a thought in my brain, but it's gone, so I don't know where it is. Yeah,
I didn't think there was anything else.
So there's a second, so.
there should be a thought, but there's not, so it's
All
gone.
in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Who gave me that second? You know.